the newest employee of the Young Turks, our political reporter. Jordan, how's it going?
Hi guys, how you doing?
We're good. We've had a chance to talk with a few people. Now, you've been wandering more broadly. You were over at the actual forum grounds earlier?
No, not yet.
No, not
Apparently, the Secret Service shut that down.
Shut down the whole site.
So as far as the way the tickets go for getting in there, is this, so it's not general public, but obviously people have to have a ticket.
Yeah.
But at that point, you're going through these lines of security, and then they make sure it's probably more intense than a basketball game.
Oh, much
to
more
get
intense.
into. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's not just they scan your ticket, no ins and outs, but
I mean, Hillary Clinton has her own security, so
Yeah.
and then you add in the Secret Service security allotted.
Yeah.
They pretty much brought people in and closed it off about 45 minutes to an hour
Yeah.
before.
You know, you're talking about the security. I noticed, and it hasn't been investigated yet, we don't know exactly how it happened, but Bernie Sanders does not have that same sort of security, obviously. And apparently a bullet hole was found at a campaign site of his in Las Vegas just a couple of days ago. So hopefully he'll get that security.
Bernie Sanders isn't getting a lot that the other candidates are getting.
Yeah,
Sure.
coverage,
Yeah.
largely.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he has far more supporters than Donald Trump, he gets something like 4% the coverage I read today.
Yeah.
So you've been on the campaign trail now for a while. I know that you've been going to some Donald Trump events. Whose events have you had a chance to go to?
We were at 3 Donald Trump rallies last week, Jeb Bush Town Hall, and of course the first one we did was the Democratic debate. So last week was very interesting, I will say.
Yeah.
What I was trying to do was really put a face to the Donald Trump
The supporters?
supporter. Yeah.
What is that face?
These are, I would say at the root, these are good people, but they are misguided. I could just do a blooper video of, oh, I didn't know that. When I actually
his
tell them
positions
what his
were.
positions are. Or, are you sure about that? It's
Really?
all over the place. Yeah, yeah. And then there's from that to the, Obama's working with ISIS and is part of a new world order. So there's a real range of reasonable, whatever verb you want, and some more birthers.
can you give us an example? I'm curious now.
Lot
The
of
first two, he said maybe two things that two of Donald Trump's campaign, I guess, positions that you've told people that they went, really?
The first one, I had the misfortune of reading his tax plan, and it's even worse than George W. in his heyday.
Worse than Jeb?
Yeah, it's worse than Jeb. So I said to them, are you aware someone in, the 0.01%, the uber rich is getting like over $1 million in tax cuts in year one, versus someone making 20 grand might get $100.
Yeah.
And they said his New Hampshire co-chair famously told me, I don't know his policy, but I like his policy.
Oh my God.
A lot of commenters spotted that comment. But a lot of them just don't know it. They say, well, he's a businessman, he could he knows how to negotiate and this and that, but they don't really know how it's going to affect them. So
Then why don't we just make the head of Walmart the president if they? So there was an editorial about a week ago. I think it was on 538 where they talked about how people are saying that Trump supporters are uninformed, but they're not. It's actually worse. They're misinformed. It's that they think they know all these things that they don't actually know. But it seems like you're saying it might be a combination of the two.
Yeah.
They think that Obama's working with ISIS, and they don't know really much of anything about the man that they are following.
right. Well, honestly, what I got out of it, because I used to work at Fox News. Feel free to judge me.
I am right now.
Yeah, I graduated. The economy was collapsing. Anyway, I would say the audience really reminded me of the Fox News viewer. Because I think Fox News in many ways kind of created the Donald Trump rise. So they were both uninformed, but another thing I noticed was there's just like a lot of vitriol and anger. I mean, me interviewing someone here, if a person next to me could kind of hear that, I come from a little bit more of a progressive tone, people are chanting obscenities at me. You know what I mean?
Right.
These are not your, mom and dad, grandpa, grandma Republicans. There's a lot of angry people, and we're, a video will be out soon with the up-close shots of the protesters getting kicked out of those rallies. But it's really like a hyena mentality. I mean, if you didn't have security there and really, some people to block it out, there'd be brawls all over the place.
We were just talking to Katie at Fusion about the policy, the written policy when she went to some of the events where it was if you see, an opposition, then don't fight them, don't snatch them as what was becoming the regular protocol. just hold up your Trump sign and start yelling Trump, 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 Trump,
But
Trump,
even-
and that would call the security to get them
Even
out.
that is extreme, because if you think about it,
Yeah.
they are giving license for
Yeah,
people to get
absolutely.
involved in the security.
And the
Snitch
whole
on each
point is
other.
just to get people
Yeah.
out that are being Americans and come with their point of view to a free rally that they would like to show up at.
Aren't they always holding up the signs yelling Trump, Trump, Trump? I thought that's what they
Yeah,
did at those rallies.
that's why I think it had the three-tiered chant version of it.
And also, since they're giving license to these people to really be the deciders who gets kicked out, these people are also misinformed themselves, because we have on camera a nice young girl, maybe she was 21, got kicked out. They just pointed to her, but she didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So she's screaming, "I didn't do anything, I didn't do
A
anything."
Trump supporter,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and she got kicked out.
Or
So.
for what someone's wearing. There was the Muslim woman who was wearing her normal Muslim garb, her head, her hijab, and everything. And I don't remember her standing up, shouting, holding signs, throwing
Supposedly
anything.
she did stand up, but she didn't say anything.
Still stood up once people were probably,
It's a
aggressively
Trump
approaching
rally.
her.
You know how many people were standing
Yeah.
up?
But
Exactly. So then she got kicked out for being, and then was yelled at, like, "Oh, you have a bomb." Things, of course, that you would expect to hear from someone.
And I'm not saying this as a somebody who might lean towards Bernie, but if you are across the street with the Bernie protesters who had their free speech zone or whatever, and you talk to these people compared to the Trump supporter, it's night and day. I mean, I spoke with this one maybe 65, 70-year-old man, was holding a candle in silent protest and was quoting Martin Luther King, and versus the Trump supporter who I could go on about that.
So
Go ahead. No, I was hoping, because of just to bring it to the event tonight. That's why I'm glad you asked which events you've already been to, because it's been a few of the Republican guys. You haven't been to any of the three Democratic
The
candidates.
Democratic
rallies
debate
yet.
I was at, but not individual yet.
So, I mean, of the rallies you've been to, or because we know this is a nonpartisan open forum, could you imagine what could any of the Republican candidates that you've seen in person, what part of any of their message or any of their rallies could they bring to something like this to appeal to this voting group that's
Brown or
probably
black.
watching this? Yeah, because honestly, it always feels like they've said, brown and black folks is over. Not gonna happen, so just F them.
Yep.
So is that, submit is why they're not here, but is there anything like a small thing, like one word you heard anyone say, you're like,
Well, more importantly than that, and I'll get to that in a second, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. At the Lowell, Massachusetts event, an arena of 10,000 people, I might have seen 5 or 6 black people.
Right.
I mean, obviously, you're not thinking the Trump supporters predominantly African American, but not a lot of African Americans out there, Latinos. No, it's white. But really, I mean, the only thing I heard, and with Trump, what's built in is there really isn't many specifics. Kind of,
Right.
we're going to take back jobs from China and Mexico and this and that.
Stop the immigrants.
So I guess an African American or a Latino who again is just grasping onto any hope might think, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's a businessman, this and that. But there wasn't any specifics. I mean,
Jeb didn't throw anything out there that.
no, Jeb actually was heavy on foreign policy.
Okay.
Because really, I think what it comes down to, whether it's Jeb or any of them, it's a lot of hot air. I mean, the economy's not all the way back, but it's a lot better than it was.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was starting out for 20 minutes on ISIS and all this. Jeb actually, what I realized in that town hall was, aside from ideology, he's just not a good retail politics guy.
Really?
I mean, a woman in the audience, it was a Q&A format, her daughter got executed in her living room. And she asked Jeb about background checks. And every mass shooting, you see the, routine thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
But Jeb, I mean, if I was a politician, I'd say, can you tell me a little bit about your daughter,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. He just said very quickly, like, oh, our thoughts are with you. And then pivoted to mental health.
Yeah.
Like, this is not how you really, if
She donated $1,000 to his campaign after
And it,
that. Just instant
Yeah.
supporter.
And there was also, taking you behind the scenes, Jeb was not happy with his handlers. Because after the event, it's a town hall, maybe 150 people were in the room. People were taking pictures with him, selfies, and his handlers were trying to yank him away for a meeting in the next room, AKA meeting with donors. And he said to them, is there a reason you're taking me away? I'm not done here. And then I ambushed him.
Well, that might be to his credit then.
Yeah.
If he would rather spend time with the voters.
but I wonder if it was maybe a legitimate question. He didn't know where they were taking him, and he's being. This is the business of
Right.
running, and you don't actually have any control over whether or not you're going to actually interact with people who came out to some support you and some to find out if they should.
Yeah.
And it's a bottom line. I did want to mention also, I know you have another question, but if everyone knows, just TYT Politics is where you said upcoming video to make sure they know where to go to.
Yeah.
TYT Politics, where Jordan is out there doing the work that, when we see it in the studio, I remember we saw some of the things you cut. I was like, finally, there's a why and a when and in how questions that just simply get asked, and it's the easiest.
Just follow-ups.
Yeah, it's not even
That's
this.
what
It's
we
not
need.
even. I'm not gonna call it easy because it takes you to know what they just said to ask which, how, and why and what. But you have to get to that, and no one ever does that.
Unlike the mainstream reporters, you know, I don't care if I get these people back with me because you know I'm not leaving any bullets unfired, so to speak. So I'm not. They're not putting their commercials on my channel like Fox and MSNBC. So I'm not gonna go over the top, but yeah. So.
Yeah, and to take it back to the event, it's disheartening that none of them felt the need to show up, or maybe it wasn't an individual decision. Maybe the RNC together, put out a statement saying, you guys aren't supposed to go to this. But the idea that, especially, I don't know if it was I believe it was 4 years ago when they lost and they came out, and the message a week out was, we need to do better to court minority groups, especially they were talking about Hispanic Americans. And that lasted maybe a week.
Well, actually,
2 weeks. They don't-
I will give them this. I know Reince Priebus and the RNC did some outreach to Latinos and this and that, but Donald Trump pretty much just stomped that. to the
Yeah, I
ground.
mean,
Yeah.
exactly. I was
Oh, yeah.
and the idea was, well, we're going to have Ted Cruz, we're going to have Marco Rubio, and
Right.
we're going to buy the support of the group by having someone who genetically is similar to you, and maybe even some of the candidates like Jeb Bush. Early on, a few years ago, his immigration policy was based on, understanding that the immigrants are coming here out of love and all that. There was some built-in possible outreach there that has, maybe because of the example of Donald Trump, it has had to have been killed since then, and now they can't show any of it.
I should, to his credit, I left that out, but at the Jeb Bush town hall, he's sticking with his stance on immigration. Even though he's 4% in the polls, he's saying we need immigration reform. This is not the conservative message of hate and this and that.
Oh, that's
so,
good.
yeah, in a different
There you
time,
go.
he might have gained some traction.
I think I asked someone this earlier. The way that Jeb Bush's campaign is going, I was surprised, and I'm trying to figure out how he was elected to his positions in Florida. How do you become governor of a state when it seems like he's just starting to do this. He's never run for office before, and then now someone asked him a question.
He's running for Congress, and it's his first time
and he's
dealing
like,
with reporters.
well,
Well, I also
He looks
think
confused.
I also think, being that I was in the media for a few years, he didn't have to deal with like CNN propping up Donald Trump and Fox propping up Donald Trump. He also, when he was running in Florida, it wasn't like this upside down thing we got going on now, that when people don't give specifics, or when people call Muslims and Mexicans names, they were usually kind of out.
They'd
a
be
couple
hurt a
days
little
later.
bit, at
Right,
least,
right.
yeah.
With this, so you can't fake
Bizarro.
being a boring, you can't fake being a charismatic bomb
Right.
thrower.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just the wrong time and the
She's
wrong
right.
office.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a good forum. Maybe
so
not as
it's
exciting as if Donald Trump was up there, but perhaps better policies being proposed for the communities being addressed by the forum. We love what you've been doing out on the
Thanks,
campaign
man.
trail. It's a
Appreciate
good
it.
chance,
When you guys get to
good
the
getting a
West
chance to talk
Coast,
to you in person.
we'll get a big coalition and get there.
Yeah.
and really get going. We'll start hitting them
Look
all.
forward to it.
Yeah, and cover some of the Democratic events.
Hey,
Go
I
amongst
go where
people
you
who are
I go where you guys send me. I'm,
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I don't want you to just go to places where you're going to be thrown out into a blizzard without your coat.
I would love. Oh man, sorry. I got frostbite. I'd love to go to Hillary Clinton's events. I got some questions for her.
Yeah?
Yes,
Oh,
we
yeah.
did.
Well,
We
we'd love
definitely
to
should.
have you there.
Cool.